Let's talk about your transition from working on board books to now full middle grade. Of course, there's a lot more illustrations in the Rizzle Run Club books. I mean, almost like every page you get some kind of doodle, or every other page at least. So a lot more illustrations, but they're in black and white. And they're not the full colorful process that you do for the board books, but there's a lot more of them. So which is a greater investment of your time?
Oh, well, they both take a lot of time, but the paintings actually, I think I made that process of making extremely simple paintings about as difficult as I possibly could, because there's quite a few layers of paint, and it just takes, quite a few hours to do a painting. So usually I'm cramming that in over several months and just working nonstop. And with the drawings, with the Rizzle Club drawings, I'm working on my computer. So I've done all the sketches ahead of time, which I can do anywhere. And then I bring them home and scan them in, and then I go from there and fix them all up and everything. So it's just a different kind of work. And it's not as, it maybe it is as time consuming, but not all at once, because paint's dry and you just kind of have to keep on going. So I ran a marathon once, and I always feel like I'm doing that when I'm doing the paintings. Like I'll look up and I'll be thinking, oh, I'm only half done. That means there are, each book has 26 pages in the cover and the back. So that's basically 28 paintings, except some are full spreads. So, and usually I do 2 books at once. So that's a lot of painting. So it's just a different process.
So when you've got an idea for a picture book, do you go to your agent, your editor with some kind of pitch? Or how is
Yeah.
a picture book born these days?
Well, usually in my sketchbook. And the board books are born, either I write them out or I draw them. It just depends on what's going on in my head. And then eventually what I'll do is lay them out in frames and, get the whole layout of the book. Each spread, kind of a miniature version that's just on 8.5 by 11 paper. And then I'll send that for the board books. And then for the Rizzle Club books, I sent my first draft of the whole first book. And then the second book we just worked on later. So that was a different process of having them decide to publish the book, because they decided to do 2 at the beginning. So yeah, so totally different process for those as well. Like the Rizzle Club book I just wrote, I didn't have any drawings yet. Or maybe I did, but they were really rough, and they went through quite an evolution before they kind of came around to the black and white line drawings that are in there.
Okay, so that's coming along well after you've done multiple drafts of the text itself, then?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, both books I wrote just on my computer. I just wrote them before I did the sketches. So it was kind of a separate process, I guess. But I'll have the ideas in my head, and then I'll just write them later.
So when you get to available now, Steamed
Yes.
Audience, when you
Right.
get to book 2, and you now know what the book's going to look like, you know what the characters are going to look like within reason. Does that allow you to be drawing while you're writing, or is it still 2 separate processes when you're doing the sequel?
It's still 2 separate processes, but I'm thinking of the drawings in my head. But I guess the other main difference between doing the drawings for the Rizzle books and the paintings is the paintings, by the time I'm painting, I've planned everything out ahead of time. The drawings are, even though I'm doing the finished art, I've already come up with it, but it's a much more creative. Well, that's not true. It's just more free flow because the illustrations are different. And when I'm doing the final art, it's more creative than it is when I'm doing the final paintings. Because the paintings I have totally laid out, I know exactly what I'm going to do. But the drawings are, I'm being more creative as I'm working on them. So they're kind of evolving as I work on them. Does that make sense? Like the paintings I do all ahead of time, I get everything laid out, colors picked, and I basically transfer it to a canvas. And then the bulk of the work is done after I've already done all the creative work. And all I'm doing is mixing colors and putting them on the canvas and listening to audiobooks.
Gotcha. So at that point, it's planned enough that you can be completely caught up in whatever book you're listening to while still getting your work done.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But the Rizzle ones, I can't do that at the same time because I'm working on my computer and I'm thinking more about the drawings as I'm drawing them. They're kind of evolving as I'm drawing them and doing the final art and everything. So it's too distracting than to listen to a book.
Well, I know anybody that's watching or listening to us can go to your website right now, and there's a video of you doing a Rizzle illustration with just like a Sharpie marker.
Yeah.
On I assume a pretty nice piece of drawing paper.
It was just a piece of paper, pretty much. It wasn't a super nice piece of drawing paper.
Like a 3 to 5 minute video. It's not an all day endeavor. The initial sketch, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, drawing the characters like I do in that video, and when I sign books, I'll often do drawings. It's almost like my signature at that point, because I'll have kind of a specific image that I've drawn over and over and over again. And so that's what I'm doing. So it's kind of like, yeah, it's like a signature. Like I know how to do it. I don't have to lay it out or anything. It's just in my head. So I can just kind of start at one point in the drawing and then bring it around to the other point. But I remember that day we were traveling and I was in Boston at the publisher, and I tend to drink a lot of coffee, but when I'm traveling, I drink more coffee. So my hand was really shaky when I was doing that, but it was fun.
So on the normal course of events, you get an idea for the sketch, then you do the sketch, and then you scan it for all the people who are listening close for specific details on how they can do likewise. What kind of scanner are you scanning it in with?
I have an Epson 1200X, I think it's called. No, 12,000. 12, yeah, something. It's a large format scanner, so it can do up to like 11 by 17. And that's what I use. I mean, sometimes now, sometimes for the rough drawings now that I want to bring into my computer, I just take a picture of them with my phone because it's so easy. Because it's good enough, if I'm going to finish it later on the computer, then I have a Wacom tablet. So it's about a 24-inch monitor that you can draw on. So that's how I work when I'm doing the drawings on the computer. I have a pen and a tablet, but the tablet's actually a monitor also. So I'll bring it in there and then I can just draw right on top of it.
Gotcha. So the original sketch is there, you're drawing on top of it. And when you're drawing on top of it, you're just bringing out details. What kind of things are you doing at that point?
Well, that's where I was saying I can get kind of creative because I have all these different pen tools and Illustrator that I've created that give me different line styles. And I do a lot of erasing of the lines and redrawing them and just making them, just the way I want them. So, and there's so many fun tools in Photoshop. So I can, so I'm a little more creative when I'm doing that, but I'm still tracing over my original sketch. And my sketches are really messy. I'm not one of those artists who has a sketch pad with beautiful drawings in it. They're really scribbly. So it's kind of a process to bring it down to a final piece.
Well, here's a non-artist question. Obviously, all these are non-artist questions, but if you can draw directly on the screen and you're going to end up doing that anyway, why do an initial sketch and take a photo with your phone or scan it in to start?
Well, it's more creative. It's just more free in a sketchbook as opposed to thinking about using the digital tools. Also, I can do it anywhere. And I think I was telling you earlier when we got cut off that like I wrote Yummy Yucky when I was on vacation, and I tend to write a lot of my books when I'm doing something else. So and because it's so mobile with a sketch pad, I can be anywhere and focus on just sketching stuff. So it gets me out of my studio where I'm doing the final artwork. Not as much creative happens in my studio as it does when I'm just spacing out doing something else, or scribble, or or just writing away or something on in my sketchbook. So
you pretty much take your sketchbook everywhere you ever go?
No, I have my notes app on my phone, so I do a lot of recording of thoughts in there now and some writing. But my sketchbook it's not always with me. I always bring it on vacation, or if I'm going on a road trip or something and I know I'm going to have time to sit down and think of things. But I don't just sit down and start sketching every day or anything.